battling the hills and the trucks. Look at this.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Bicycle Touring Talk. My name is George Schlackegg, and I created this series to talk about bicycle touring. Much of it is telling my own touring stories with footage and images to back them up. Most recently, I've been covering the 2019 Colombia tour that Barbara and I did together. Episode 130 left off in Puerto Araujo, where we spent a hot, sweaty night in a hotel with no AC. Colombia was turning out to be the hottest place we'd ever toured, and it was putting limits on our cycling time. Early mornings were most comfortable, so we set the alarm for 5 a.m. After getting up and out of the hotel, we first stopped at the same roadside restaurant we had visited the evening prior.
So we just left our Hotel Las Vegas. And now we're going for coffee. And then we'll hit the road before the sun comes up and gets really strong.
We enjoyed a pretty basic breakfast of eggs, tortillas, fried plantains, and tinto, the standard Colombian coffee. The sun was barely up when we left town, and it was a pleasant ride for about an hour or so. Well, the road was now mostly 2 lanes with a half-decent shoulder to ride on. We had been told that it was gonna be todo plano, all flat in English. But there were considerably steep hills on and off. Another problem was the truck traffic.
Somebody told us this morning it was going to be all flat. We're battling the hills and the trucks. Look at this.
Speed limits in Colombia tend to be artificially low, which of course makes them completely meaningless, leaving it up to the drivers to decide what is a safe speed. It might say that speed is checked by radar, but we haven't really seen any radar traps. By the time it got really hot, we had covered a pretty good distance. We had no problem finding a good roadside restaurant for our lunch, which came with soup and lots of flavored water. How far were we gonna go that day? I was half thinking that maybe we could make it to Barrancabermeja. But I also knew that that would be pushing it just a bit too far for Barbara. When touring together, it's a bit of a give and take. Sometimes it's better to stop a bit sooner to make sure the tour stays enjoyable for both.
Hola. Hola. Yeah, our biggest issue now is truck traffic. Besides the intense sunshine, I got my long sleeve shirt on that I bought in La Dorada just to make sure my forward don't get too cooked.
That's how we ended up at an interesting place. We had ridden about 50 kilometers and the temperature was now at its peak. I knew that we needed to start looking for a place to stay, but had no idea what exactly lay ahead. That wasn't really too concerning though, as we had seen a good number of decent looking truck stop hotels, which are usually a pretty good choice. But then there was this place up on a hill. A beautiful guest house with a large pool and even a water slide. I was reluctant to inquire there because it looked more like some place a family would book for a get-together. It was Friday, so what were the odds? Well, we pushed our bikes up the dirt road anyways and asked if they had a room for us. The guy who received us looked way too young to be the owner, but he had nothing better to do, so he showed us a room. It turned out we could have it for the equivalent of about $35 Canadian, which seemed like a sweet deal. We had use of the pool, air conditioning, a flat screen TV, and a spacious room. The place was called Balneario Loma Linda. How could we go wrong? We paid for the room and barely got settled in when the electricity cut out. Now, our AC and the TV weren't working, but we could still use the pool. As it turned out, the entire village had no power. We still managed to find a place down by the road that could serve us supper even without electricity, and then we picked up some snacks at a store for later. People here were used to getting by without power. The young lad who rented us the room probably knew exactly that the power would go off, and he was probably glad someone paid for the room anyways. We were the only people staying at this otherwise beautiful place. When we arrived back at the room after dark, there was nothing better to do than to go to bed early. A while later, though, the light came back on. We had power again, but it was very late now, and the internet didn't work when I tried it. At least we got the AC going, and then we went back to sleep.
5:45 or something, and we're getting ready for our daily ride. We had a really nice hotel room, and it got even nicer once we started to figure out how to run the air conditioning. We had to take the batteries from the remote control for the TV to make that happen.
The next morning, we first continued along the same route, but only for a few kilometers. There was no sign, but when I saw a road turn off to the left, something told me that this might be the quickest way to Barrancabermeja. Good thing we stopped to ask someone because my hunch turned out to be bang on. The secondary road was a bit rougher than the highway, and there were no lines. But even though it was curvy here and there, the ride was pretty good overall simply because there was less traffic.
We're now on the road to Barrancabermeja.
Vehicles were passing now and then. A few trucks blew by us way faster than one would expect. We didn't see any speed limit signs at all. Go figure. We were on that road for quite a while. The landscape was quite nice. At one point, we finally saw a gas station with convenience store. We stopped there to get cold drinks. Also stopping was a herd of cows. After that place, traffic got much busier again. A group of local cyclists passed us. Before we knew it, we were in the city. An older gentleman on a road bike passed us and asked if we knew our way around. He seemed trustworthy, so we said that we had no clue and that we're looking for a place to spend 2 nights. "Follow me," he said. That's how we ended up at Hotel Rio Grande. The room was a bit more expensive than we'd gotten used to, but was still under $50 Canadian equivalent. This was the most luxurious place we had seen in a long time. Everything here was spotless. Someone opened the door for us every time we entered or left the hotel, and there was always fresh maracuja and mango juice in the lobby, along with delicious Colombian coffee. The room had everything, even the extremely rare hot shower and free Netflix on the enormous TV. Breakfast was complimentary, not at the hotel itself, but at the restaurant across the street. Was this the perfect place to spend the rest day? I'll tell you all about it in episode 132. Join me for it next week. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If so, show YouTube and me by hitting the like button once. If you're new here, it would make my day if you could subscribe to my channel. There's no obligation that comes with it, just a whole lot of good videos to enjoy. Boom!